In this video lesson, I want to give you some hints towards modeling your parts and assembling them. I highly encourage you to have all of your parts in one document. You can create your parts as new pieces in one studio, or you can create multiple studios. If I come down here to the Insert New Element, I've got the option to create New Part Studio, and that'll give you the ability to have your hole, your T-pad, your scoring podium, and the hole cup all in the same file. That'll make the assembly and creating the working drawings a lot easier. Once you have each one of your part studios developed or created, I've created a new assembly, and I'm just going to drag that to the front so that each time I open it up, it'll now start opening up in the assembly. Once the assembly file is created, I'll say Insert, and since everything lives in the same document, I should be able to see all of my part studios here and any sub-assemblies that I'd like to go ahead and insert into this file. I typically am going to bring in my biggest piece first, or whatever my base component is. I'm going to place that component, and I'm going to right-click on it and fix it. That will lock that in space so that it can't move around anymore. Now I can go ahead and bring in the rest of my pieces. And again, because they all live in the same document, I don't have to go to other documents and go hunting for my parts because they all live in the same file. So I can go ahead and bring in my hole cup, my scoring podium, and my T-pad. Another huge advantage of having all of your parts living in the same document is not having to version them as you bring them into the assembly. And as you go back into your parts and make changes, those changes are going to update immediately rather than having to create another version. Let's do the cup first. That's probably the easiest one. So I'm going to come up to just my fastened mate. And I know there's a whole bunch of different options that are inside here, but for right now I can just leave it on fastened because this is just going to get locked into place. I'm going to come over to the top of it and get my little indicator on that top circle. And then I'm going to lock that to the hole that I've put into my board. If it doesn't go in the correct orientation, I can just come to Flip Primary Axis, and it should go ahead and do that for me. And that's it for going ahead and putting the hole in. The podium and the pad may be a little bit different because they're not going to go onto an edge. So for this one, I'm not even going to worry about perfectly centering it. I just know that I want it somewhere down here, and I may not want it in the middle anyways, but I just want this pad to be locked onto this surface. So the tool I'm going to use is Planar Mate. I'm going to select one of the surfaces, and it doesn't really matter that it's picked the middle of it. All it's going to do is assign two faces that I want to go together, but not lock those points together. So I'll click that one, and I'll go ahead and flip my pad over. And it really doesn't matter which face I pick because the top and the bottom really are the same. Let's go ahead and pick that face and select OK. Now it's actually locked those two together, and I can slide it around. By doing that, I've taken away 3 degrees of freedom. I can no longer move up and down, I can no longer rotate along one axis, and I can no longer rotate along another axis. It could still spin, it can move from side to side, and it can move in and out. And then I can do the same thing to the podium. Now I can see my podium accidentally went in upside down, and that's fine. I can click on it. I can find the mate feature, which just happens to be that last one. I'll double click it and I can swap it. And right now I'm not really disappointed with that orientation. I could go ahead and leave it that way. If I think about the users being able to come up to the podium and being able to stand while they're looking at somebody else and fill out a scorecard, that's fine, but I may want to rotate it. Not to the point where I want this edge and this face to touch each other. I just want them to face the same direction. I can just go ahead and grab this rotation and I can kind of manually rotate it, but I'd like for it to be a specific angle and I'd like it to be the exact same angle as this front plane. So instead of grabbing planar, which is going to lock those faces together, I'm going to come down to Parallel Mate. Once I do that, I can pick one face and another face, and it's not going to lock the faces together, it's just going to make them face the same direction. And if I do want it to actually be planar to this edge, then I could have locked it onto that edge too. I could have just selected this face, the face of my podium, and it would have locked those two together. Once I've got all my parts made in the assembly, I'm ready for my drawings. Once I go to the drawings, I can get one drawing completely created, and I can also come over and make a new drawing and a new drawing and a new drawing and so on. But rather than creating multiple drawings across there, I can add sheets to it, kind of like you do in Google Sheets or in Excel. Over here along the side, I have this little icon that says Sheets, and once I open that up, I have the option to go ahead and insert a new sheet. Then down here at the bottom, instead of saying sheet 1 of 1, it would then say 1 of 2 or 2 of 2. I can create a set of sheets rather than individual sheets. So I can just go ahead and say insert sheet. I can come up to my insert view. I should be able to see all the parts and all of the assemblies that live in this document. Hopefully some of those tips might help you with your design.